Welcome back. The economy is still the #1 issue for voters as high prices rank as the most important factor driving voters to the polls. A new Fox News poll finds 39% of voters cited this issue as their #1 issue. And a majority of voters say high grocery and housing costs are a major problem for families. Voters still trust Donald Trump over Kamala Harris on the economy, according to this polling, 51% to Harris's 46%. But that same poll shows voters trust Harris more on helping the middle class. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, a member of the House Oversight and Financial Services Committees, as well as the Freedom Caucus. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Maria. Good morning.
We haven't heard much of an articulation of Kamala Harris's policies. We know she wants to raise taxes dramatically. We know that she was the last person in the room after the Afghanistan withdrawal. We know that she's been overseeing the largest, if not among the largest, influx of migrants into this country in the last 4 years. And yet these polls have her neck and neck with Donald Trump. Can you explain it?
Well, look, I think she's pretty clever at word salad and saying things that sound good, but they're just simply no substance. And I believe this is the reason why you have union members around the country are saying, you know what, we want Donald Trump, because they're working hard every single day, Maria. They're out. They're up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., getting to the job, doing everything they can to make ends meet. And then the price of everything has just been massively pushing down their standard of living, and they've had enough. And so for undecided voters who would say that she's better for the middle class, let me point you to a couple of key facts. Her tax increases are actually going to stagnate our economy. That's not good for the middle class. Her price gouging proposal is really an absolute joke. What it's going to lead to is scarcity of goods and services. That's definitely going to hurt the middle class because rich people are going to get their products no matter what. It's going to be the middle class. It's going to be the working poor who are going to suffer. And the fact that it's now been 60 days since she's been the nominee and she still cannot articulate even one point except saying she grew up as a middle class child, just relating to you is not solving the problem. And that's what she's trying to do. She's just trying to relate. She's doing a very bad job of it, by the way, but she has no interest in solving the problem that she created when she was the tie-breaking vote for Joe Biden's agenda.
Yeah, and, I mean, she was asked this specifically about, what is your plan for inflation? And I want to play you what she said in a moment, as soon as I know that is ready, because I want to get your take on how she's getting away with not saying anything. Watch this.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been.
That was the answer, Congressman. I mean, how is the media not outraged and forcing some answers, forcing some communication of what she's going to do in the next 4 years? It's amazing to me.
Maria, I really want to talk to undecided voters in our country. The reason why you get no straight answer from Kamala Harris and the reason why the media does not request that from her is because the media wants her to be president. They are in the tank for her. She couldn't even come out and clearly say how she would decrease the cost of food and of housing for middle-class families all across our country because she's not going to change any policy. She famously has now said, one of the few things I think she was truthful about is that her values have not changed. Even her policy about this $25,000 tax credit for his first-time home buyers, all that's going to do is raise the price of housing $25,000.
Yeah.
It's bumper sticker, it sounds good, but it is not realistic.
Well, we know that President Trump has been pulling voters from traditional Democrat blocs, including union members and black voters. A new NAACP poll shows more than 1 in 4 black men under the age of 50 plan to vote Trump. Despite the Teamsters refusing to endorse a candidate earlier this year, internal polling shows 58% of those members, Teamsters members, are backing Trump, compared to 31% backing Harris. And you just said it. This is because this is the working population, and they understand their lives have been changed considerably in the last 4 years. What else does President Trump need to do to communicate his plans to a broader reach?
I think he just needs to keep going on the same track that he's going on now, Maria. He and J.D. Vance have been crisscrossing the country. They have really stepped up their game, doing media, doing podcast interviews, finding every possible way to communicate with the American people. When you compare their level of activity to these focus groups, these shows that Kamala Harris puts on, it's pretty clear that Donald Trump is the one who has a recipe to fix our country and to help working families, middle-class families get ahead. This is one of the reasons why, yes, 1 in 4 black men are going to be voting for Donald Trump. And I would anticipate the closer we get to Election Day, that's going to increase because Donald Trump is real. He is tangible. He's talking about his ideas. Kamala Harris is hiding in plain sight because if she actually shares what she believes, it will be a turnoff to the American people.
Well, I mean, these polls, that's why these polls really are perplexing to me. It could be that there are voters who just, think, okay, well, she's a woman, right? And, she thinks she's a role model, right? And she is a role model to some, I understand. Back in 2016, she talked all about how she was the first this, the first that, and maybe that in and of itself, people are not thinking about what she's going to do. They just see her and think, like, well, here's what Kamala said back in 2016. Watch this.
I was the first person to be a woman Attorney General of California. I was the first woman to be elected District Attorney of San Francisco. I was the first person of color to be elected Attorney General of California. Whatever, first. Welcome to the Role Model Club. It's tough. Being a part of the Role Model Club means being in a room where sometimes you may be the only person who has had the experiences you've had. Being a part of the Role Model Club means that people will watch you. Being a part of the Role Model Club means knowing that there are people who you inspire even when you don't realize it. It's kind of like a permanent membership to be a part of the Role Model Club.
There you go, Congressman, Role Model Club.
I don't care. And frankly, Maria, I don't think anybody else cares either. Are you going to fix the border? Are you going to help people thrive in our economy? Are you going to clean up the foreign policy mess of her boss, Joe Biden, which she was sitting shotgun for the entire time? Are you going to be able to negotiate with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping? Or are you going to give us word salad and phraseology and try to be a Hollywood starlet as opposed to a serious leader that our country needs? The choice is clear. The choice is Donald J. Trump.
Let me get some serious answers from you right now, because here you are, you and your colleagues facing another deadline. House Speaker Mike Johnson's stopgap funding bill linked to the SAVE Act failed in the House. The measure would have averted an October 1st shutdown. It would have required proof of citizenship to vote, but your Democrat colleagues will not hear of it. The House now looking at a straightforward interim spending bill that would run through mid-December. Meanwhile, 158 Democrats voted against the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. Go figure. They're not in support of this. This was to deport illegal migrants who commit sex crimes. The bill still passed with 266 votes, but those Democrats would not vote for it, Congressman. Can you explain this one to us?
I can't explain it at all. The Democrat Party is crystal clear. They care about open borders. They do not care about the violence that ensues from illegal immigration. Yes, we all know the heart-wrenching stories of violence against women in the United States. Rachel Moore and so many other women who have lost their lives, not to mention the people who have been victimized, the burglaries, the assaults that have occurred. But the other thing that has not been talked about enough are the young girls who are sold into sex slavery by the drug drug cartels, all because of Kamala Harris's open borders. But the Democrats don't care about any of that, Maria. I will challenge Chuck Schumer, bring that bill up in the Senate. But what I'm going to anticipate is he will not. And the reason why is that the Democrat Party has no interest in fixing our border issues. They have no interest in protecting women in this country or illegal immigrant women who are being used and abused by the coyotes and the drug cartels. It is sick. And this is the story that needs to be talked about a whole lot more, but the press is too busy being in the tank for Kamala Harris and the radical Democrat Party.
So what's going to happen here? Will you vote for that stop spending gap?
Listen, if it's a clean CR into December, I'm not going to be voting for that, Maria. We have done that over and over here in Washington, D.C. It just leads to an omnibus right before Christmas, and that's not in the interest of the American people.
So are you willing to go to the mat and allow the government to shut down right before the election?
Actually, I will tell you, yes, I am, and here's why. We need to cut spending in this country today. We need to make sure illegals aren't voting in our country today. And last but not least, why are we negotiating with the Biden administration over federal spending when Joe Biden is not running the country? It's being run by his staffers and his aides. They were not elected. So in my view, this is one of the reasons I supported moving funding after Christmas, moving it until the next president of the United States. So the House of Representatives and the Senate, they negotiate with the next president because the current president is simply not in charge, and everybody knows it.
This is all really important points that you're making. Great points. Good for you, Congressman. I've heard it before. Shut down the border or shut down the government. Congressman, thank you so much, sir. We'll be watching.